Next up, we have to talk about Tesla with what's going on with a leaked email from CEO Elon Musk. So Elon Musk was warning specifically to his company that, and I'll quote here, investors are giving us a lot of credit for future profitability, but if at any point they conclude that's not going to happen, our stock will immediately get crushed like a souffle under a sledgehammer. So that's some pretty strong words coming from the CEO of Tesla there. And you can see this is a major concern because Tesla has now had 5 quarters with positive earnings growth. And the problem is that if they miss one and they have negative earnings, this stock, which is quintupled for the year, it's potentially going to go down and get obliterated because they'll miss earnings. So he's really trying to push on the employees the importance of trying to make money every quarter going forward here. And if you look at their capital spending, which is huge, there's a lot of upcoming things. There's a Cybertruck and the Tesla Semi coming out. So there's all these big things coming out in 2021, and there are plants in Austin that are being built, Shanghai's being expanded, Berlin's being built. So you have a lot of capital expenditures, and they really need to keep up this kind of profitable quarter after profitable quarter to keep investors enthusiastic about the stock. Now, at the same time, when Tesla's CEO is warning their company about maybe not making the profits that they expect, Goldman Sachs is raising the price target on Tesla, and they raise it to $780 a share. And the stock right now is at about $600. So it's funny how these analysts are always late to the party, where after the stock has run up hundreds of dollars, now they raise their estimate to a new level. And going through another car company, just because, similar to Tesla here, we had some information last time about Nikola that we talked about in previous videos. GM is actually backing out of their deal to get an 11% stake in Nikola. There's still some involvement with the companies, but it's not the same. After all the controversies that came out over Nikola, they're now losing this major deal. There's some new action in Hong Kong for what happened from last week's news. So we have Joshua Wong was going to be sentenced for inciting protests, right? Well, he actually is now getting a 13-month jail sentence. Agnes Chow and Ivan Lam were sentenced to 10 months and 7 months in jail, respectively. So some leaders in the UK and the United States, they denounced the ruling, boo-hoo, but that's not going to do anything because how is that stopping any of this process from happening, right? There's no kind of implication for China on this to change their ways other than people getting some brownie points for saying some nice words about the people that are getting thrown in prison now. Amnesty International actually came out and said that the jail terms violate the right to freedom of expression and peaceful assembly. So you have Amnesty International saying that that shouldn't happen, it shouldn't be allowed. But once again, nobody has power to stop China from doing these things as they round up all of the Hong Kong descendants to really take control in Hong Kong. Next up, we have Visa making a credit card that has a unique way of providing benefits to the user. It's actually going to pay you 1.5% back in Bitcoin as a reward. So this is pretty incredible here. We're seeing all this news at Bitcoin as it's around the new highs. And now you're seeing this company trying to find a way to lure new people in to their credit card network by saying you're going to get Bitcoin, which if you know anything about Bitcoin and you've read the white paper, the point is to stay away from companies like this and credit cards. But anyway, there's an annual fee on this card of $200. So while that 1.5% cash back might sound nice, you have to think that on top of that, there's also the annual fee. And 1.5%, I mean, there's cards out there right now that offer 1.8 or 2%. So those would probably be better. And you'd be better off not buying this, not utilizing this Visa credit card, and maybe just using your regular cash to buy Bitcoin itself rather than trying to get it through rewards here. So I don't advise that this would be a good play for anybody to get into. But it is interesting in the terms of Bitcoin news and driving information about the technology of Bitcoin and blockchain. Next up, we have an important ratio that has kind of gotten to scary levels at this point. We talked earlier about the risky things that are happening in the market right now. And if you look at the TMC to GDP ratio, it has now hit 180.7. So you might be saying, what the heck is this? So to give it the basic definition, total market cap of all publicly traded US companies against US national GDP, gross domestic product. So that looks at the valuations of stocks compared to the US economy. And Warren Buffett really believes, and this is a yardstick as a way of evaluating how expensive stocks are. He says that it's probably the best measure of where valuations stand at any given moment. And this is also known as the cap ratio, is another term for it. So now we said it was 180.7. If you look at a 20-year average, it is supposed to be around 80. That's where it historically falls back to if it ever gets too high, and we're over double that right now. So that's not a good sign. It shows that there's a lot of froth on the market right now, and eventually, it's going to start trending back down towards that 80 level to be more in line with historical averages. So I thought that was an interesting thing to bring up here. Congratulations to the next billionaire. So there was a company that recently had the IPO. The CEO, Austin Russell, is 25 years old and is now welcome to the Billionaires Club. So he has a self-driving car company called Luminar, and what they did was they basically make these things called LiDAR, which are lasers that can project to an area around a vehicle, and when the lasers are bounced back, it can measure the distance because it's always traveling, at the speed of the laser, the speed of light with the laser. So it's basically a way to make a radar around the car, and you can see everything. It's called LiDAR. And this company, it's got an interesting story behind this whole thing, right? So Austin Russell, he was going to Stanford University and actually left at age 17 in 2012 to start this company. And to help him along with that was a fellowship from Peter Thiel. So Peter Thiel is the guy that, remember, he was paying people to give them kind of grants to leave college and actually start making businesses instead of wasting their time, sitting there reading books, and actually do something that's innovative. And what I love about this right here is this is very innovative technology. I mean, 10 years ago, nobody was really thinking about self-driving cars. And in the past 5 years or so, it's become pretty realistic that this is the future of where we're heading. So he accepted that fellowship and everything. And now with this the company went public through a SPAC, which is a special purpose acquisition company. And this is kind of a trend lately. There's been a number of other companies, Nikola and Frisker Automotive and DraftKings. They all came out through this same system. And what the SPAC does is it basically brings two companies together with a merger. So this Luminar company merged with an investment firm company, and it gave them an injection of cash of about $570 million to put them on more sound footing. And it also allows them to have their IPO a bit quicker than would normally be the case if they didn't do that. So it seemed to work pretty well for them here. And the stock has gone up. It's doubled already since the IPO. It's at $31.40 right now. And if you look at the current market for LiDAR devices in the marketplace, it's at around $5 billion. But it is expected to grow to $150 billion by 2030. That is really crazy growth that's on the table here. But that's a lot of speculation there that this will be the technology used for driving cars. So for autonomous driving, CEO of Tesla, Elon Musk, came out and he said that this technology was no good. It's a crutch. And that is why Teslas use cameras and software to analyze what cameras see to basically tell if it's a tree, a person, or a stop sign. And this is a competing technology with that. But the great thing about this innovation in the marketplace is that the market will kind of figure out which one's the best, and the money will flow to that area, and we will have hopefully the best technology in the end. Next up, we have news from the theaters and Warner Brothers and HBO. So Warner Brothers announced that they're going to be releasing their full 2020 movie list. That's like 17 movies on HBO. And they're going to be doing this special offering where it's on HBO for like a 1-month period, and then it's removed and it keeps playing in movie theaters. So this was like a knife to the heart of AMC and Cinemark. So AMC and Cinemark, I think they sold off on this news. They're pretty much crying when they heard about this. I think AMC even made a press release saying that they, were not in favor of this decision by Warner Brothers. AMC was down 14%, and Cinemark was down 17% on the news. Now, the 17 movies includes ones like Batman and Space Jam, The Matrix 4, Mortal Kombat, Dune, Wonder Woman 1984. So there's a lot of these kind of crazy movies that are coming out that are big theatrical releases that you can now watch in your own home on HBO Max. And this is giving HBO Max a big boost here because they're competing with Disney Plus and Hulu and Netflix. And there's all these streaming companies coming out now. And HBO really needed some kind of boost like this to really set them apart from the others in the marketplace. So I thought that was pretty interesting news there. And it's pretty tough for those movie theaters. I mean, we thought they'd be able to come back. We had people speculating in the movie theater stocks, just like in the airline stocks and the cruise line stocks. And you see here, one big announcement can completely change that. And that's why it's very speculative to do that. Next up, we have some news for Boeing. So Boeing has been struggling for a while now. And Ryanair actually came out and said that they're going to buy 75 of those jets that Boeing had so much trouble with for the past 2 years. They were grounded for 2 years, the 737 MAX jets. So now that Ryanair is going to be making this purchase, that is a total of around $7 billion. So this is kind of the first good news in a long time for Boeing, when a lot of other companies are canceling their orders that they had already with Boeing. Ryanair is not only not canceling their orders, but they're increasing their orders for the plane. And on my final note here, we have OPEC and a group of Russian oil producers that came to an agreement to raise their total oil output about 500,000 barrels a day. And the important thing with this is that, their plan is to start this in January. And what they think is that the lockdowns and the pandemic, we're past the worst of it. And for future, they think that oil demand is going to be going up as people start being able to go outside again and enjoy life. So that's another sign here that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, because they're starting to see that there's potential for oil demand growing in the future. So we'll leave it there on a bright spot about the future of the economy. Thank you everyone for watching. Tune in next week and we'll give you another business breakdown.